Time to make bread again. I'm going to, I don't think I'm going to do anything to really be different about this. I just want to make sure I'm consistent. I think I'm really close to getting it to where I need it to be, so let me gather my ingredients here. I'm running a little low on wheat, but I think I have enough to get by. Made sure I have enough for my starter. I fed it last night. It's like 10 o'clock in the morning. I fed it around 11 hours ago. I should have started a little bit earlier, but it's Saturday and I'm tired. So let's always do the white first. So I'm going to do about 300 grams of white. So this is 300. So I need to get up to 666. Almost there. Really low, but on my flour reserve here, but I think I can make it fine because I do have to feed the starter one more time before I put it up for the week. I've been storing my starter in the fridge over the week when I'm not using it, so I don't have to feed it every day. Another thing I did, I'm using 472 grams of water, and I warmed it up in the micro for about 50 seconds. I want it to be hot, but not like scalding hot, but definitely hot so you can notice it, but not hot, but not room temperature because that's too cold. I want to keep it warm. Warmth is our friend in this case. It's a little bit cool outside today. It's not as humid as it was yesterday, but it is cooler than it has been. So yeah, that's it's not hot water, but it's probably around 100 degrees, so a little bit warmer than room temp, or than this temperature of your skin. Just out of this is the auto lease, so I just want to. This is our starting point, so I want it to stay warm. And I'm going to be using. I haven't done that in a while. I want it to stay warm. I'm going to be using the oven for different things today while I'm cooking my dinner or whatnot. So I won't be able to use it as much, which isn't that big of a deal. But to compensate, I can just start out with really warm water, and that'll keep it warm and keep the process moving along pretty nicely. I found that keeping it warm, and if you watch other people's videos that actually know what they're doing, they will mention the heat, or not the heat, just the warmth. You don't want it to be cold because it'll just slow everything down needlessly. It sure is sticky this morning, but I think it's just a matter of working it. I think that the thing to do here is one thing that I would always do is I would get nervous and add more flour. But the idea here is just to stick to your guns and keep working it, and it'll eventually work its way around. So yeah, I think that's really nice. I think it comes together pretty nice. It's holding together already a little bit. Still scratchy, but I mean, that's the whole point of this. So let me take a little neutral oil. In this case, it's a vegetable spray. Works really well. Put that sucker in there. Seal the top. We don't want a skin. It's just after 10 a.m. So I'm going to give this about 30 minutes and we'll get on to our next step. So it's been about 40 minutes or so. I had time to have breakfast, a cup of coffee. So that's always good. Let's get this scale warmed up. I think I put a little too much water in it last night, but it does have nice air bubbles in it. My starter, I mean, has a very pleasant, flowery, sweet fragrance, which is what I want. So let's get my hands washed. that sucker back in here. Put some dimples in it. So we'll take the salt. Let's get 15 grams of salt. Okay. Make sure this salt is dissolved inside of my dough. It doesn't take that long. I always like to make sure I don't have a pocket of salt in there, because you will find pockets of salt if you don't mix it right. So put a little water on the bottom of the bowl so that way it'll spin, and that'll help with mixing and kneading. It's already coming together a lot better just with this kneading right here. So feels pretty good. Like I said, it's not too, it's a slightly cool outside, but very, very damp. Had some rain in the last few days, so it is muggy and damp outside. Here, I found a patch of salt right here. That's what I gotta find them, and I need to integrate them. Okay, I think that did it. So I'm going to create a nice divot in the center to start with, and get my starter going. Let me get my TikTok video going too. You get to see how I make. So if you go on TikTok, it's the same name. If you go to like my bio and look, my link tree has all my stuff in there. I don't know if anybody'd ever want to follow any of that stuff. If you want to see it mostly in real time, you can go on my TikTok or my Instagram, and you'll actually see the bread being made in real time, rather than this will come out a week or two after I made it. See how wet it is? Not how I normally like to do it, but I think it'll be okay. I'm going to do 110 grams right there. 110 grams of starter. It's a little bit more, but it's not that big of a deal. Okay. This stuff, once it dries, is glue. So having it on the top is not good. You want to make sure that's not sealed. It's just loose on the top and not sealed, because there needs to be airflow. So get my hand wet. This is what I mean by the water content being a little low. It won't hurt it, because my hands are gonna be wet every time I touch the dough from here on out, really, because when I do the folds, I wet my hands, so that you don't want this to stick. You want it to stick to your hand. So there we go. Ooh, it's real wet. Yeah, not the way I normally like to do it, but I think it'll be alright. See that really wet sound? I think I'll be all right. It's that whole, uh-oh, I need to do something to it, but really what I need to do is just work through it, and it should be okay. The big thing is to really I just grab it like that to make sure there's no dry spots, make sure the starter gets injected all the way through, and so that way, you're essentially what I'm doing is feeding the starter again. And by doing that, I make sure that the starter gets all the way pushed all the way around. See, what was that, like a minute? Not even a minute. It's probably like 45 seconds, and now it's mostly solidified again. See that? You just gotta give it. You gotta have patience. This whole process of bread making is just patience. You can speed it along. I've done it all in one day. I'll start at 6 in the morning, and by 5:30 in the evening, I'm pulling a loaf of bread out of the oven. So you can speed it up if you want, but I'm doing the longer process. So it's Saturday morning, 11 o'clock in the morning. By this time tomorrow, I'll have a loaf of bread sitting on the counter cooling. So it's time consuming. Ideally, I would do 1,000 grams, and if I had somebody to give a loaf of bread to, that would be great. I would just make 2 loaves at a time, and then just give away a loaf. But I don't have anybody to give that to, so I just make the one. And this size is pretty good. One thing I'm going to do differently is the bake, and I'll just talk about it real quick right now. I'm going to do 22 or 23 minutes in the bake time covered instead of just 20, because I want to make sure that center gets all the way cooked through, because I notice the center stays a little gooey, which is not the end of the world because I do toast it and that finishes cooking it, but I'd rather it have that time to expand more and to have that heat really penetrate it. So it's only like 2 or 3 minutes, but that 2 or 3 minutes is a lifetime at 500 degrees. So it's been around 4 minutes of me doing this. So I'm going to give it another couple of minutes of making sure this thing is fully integrated. It's already starting to look really good. See how it's already starting to smooth out? It doesn't look as scratchy as it did when I pulled it out like a couple minutes ago. It's just a matter of working it, just a matter of time. What I want is to build up all that gluten, make this thing super strong, so that way it holds. And then when I apply heat to it, it goes up instead of just flatten out. Boy, I've had too many of them flatten out. And I think that was just too much starter and waiting too long. It is a patience game, but it is also don't wait too long either. So there's a balance you have to figure out. And then the weather and the temperature of the room play a factor. It's kind of like a game, I guess, in a way. I hate to say a game because it's more than that, but I mean, it is a finesse thing. You have to know where you're at in the process and what to look for, and that's just going to come with time, I guess. I mean, this is like Loaf 76 or 77. I lost track. I think even if you look through my videos, I think I missed a number here or there. So I'm somewhere in the 70s, and I'm still, every single time is a learning process. It's not like making a cake out of a box, which are great and I love them, where you don't have to really think about it, you just mix them together and go. This is coming completely from scratch, and yeah, it's not like an easy process. Not a hard process, but you know, it's a lot of observation, time, patience, you know. I guess that's why I like it. It's not, you're never gonna, I guess you could become really good at it at some point, but you have to just be on your toes. There's not, if you just coast through it, you're gonna screw up. I've done that too many times. So we got 12 minutes in real time, of just the time since I turned the camera on, I mean. So we've got about 5 minutes, 5 or 6 minutes of me doing this. So I'm just, see, it's still a little bit sticky. It gets stuck to my hand, which is fine. That's why we had to keep moving. But I'm lifting up, folding over, and then giving a turn, like a quarter turn maybe. So up, over, and I'm just moving both hands over and over and over and over again for about a minute, and then I stop, flip it over, and start again. I want to make sure I'm building gluten all the way around. I want to make sure my starter is fully integrated, so that way the active starter that's in here is fed evenly, and it'll grow evenly too, because you can't have like a spot where it'll just pop up, because that's like the spot. We don't want that. We want it to all be uniform. So in probably another minute. It's coming along really nicely. It feels pretty good. It doesn't want to like flop around too much, which is good. All right. Got a nice smooth side now. It looks looking pretty good. Let's just put it back in my grease bowl. It is sticking though. Okay. It does stick still a decent amount. Not great, but it's overall it'll work out, so that's a good workout. Step 2 is done. Starter is integrated. I'm gonna let this sit for about another 45 minutes or so, and then we'll get onto our folds. All right. My hand's wet. Let's see, it's still pretty firm and doesn't have a lot of air in it yet, but I'm just gonna handle it lightly. It stretches pretty nice though, so that's good. The idea is not to, air bubbles are starting to form, but I don't want to squeeze them all out. I want to keep it light and fluffy. So I do see air bubbles. There's just not a lot yet, but it does feel not squishy, but it does feel light, which is good. So let me do one more of these. It smooths out really nice, and I can see these air bubbles. So when I bake it, you'll be able to see them all, but it's pretty smooth now, if you look at that. Okay, it's holding together pretty nice. I'm putting it in the oven with the light on, so to keep it warm, because it does feel a little bit cooler than it did earlier, but keeping it with the light on, so it's about 80 degrees in there, 80, 85. Make sure this is sealed, and we're done with the first fold. 2 more. I'm gonna give it about 35, 40 minutes until the next one. We got the next fold ready. More air bubbles have shown up. I don't know how well they pick up on camera. More air bubbles are here, which is good. So let's do the 2-hand fold again. I want to keep all those air bubbles because I feel them all through it. I don't want to squish them. That's what I've been doing before, is squishing them all, but rewatching the videos of people doing this, they want to keep it as fluffy and airy as possible, which makes more sense. So just keep my hands wet and keep these air bubbles in here. I don't want to lose anything. I want it to be more manageable. It seems pretty nice now. It's smoothed really well. So let's do one more quick one here. I'm seeing all these larger air bubbles through here. That's very nice. So there we go. Okay, second fold done. One more fold. It's 12:53. I'll probably be back at like 1:30 or so, and we'll do our last fold. And for now, let it rest. Well, it picks up on camera, but there are a decent amount of bubbles. Get my hands wet. I've been keeping it in the oven, so it is rather warm. It's not cold to the touch is what I'm worried about, so that's fine. Hands are, I can feel a lot of bubbles in my hands. That's good. So I think it's coming along really well. Let me do one more. So yeah, okay. I'm keeping it in the fridge, in the oven. That's fridge is later. In the oven with the light on. I'm feeling that it's coming along really well. So I'm gonna let it. It's 1:42. I'll probably let it sit for about 20 minutes, and then we'll do our bench rest. We'll shape it and do a bench rest, and yeah, 20 minutes or so maybe. Now we do the fun part, shaping. Nice and warm because the oven's been running. It's the right amount of heat. It's not too hot, but it's keeping it a good temperature. It's not cold. So I don't want it to get cold, and that slows it down. We want to keep moving. So I'm gonna let this crawl out. Boom. Let it crawl out on its own. I want to keep that air in for now. I have a bench scraper here. Look at that, it came all out of one piece. That's cool. Okay. So let me get a towel. I forgot I was going to do that. I forgot I was going to do a bench rest. So I need to cover it for a moment. So I made it into a ball. I'm going to cover it with a clean towel and let it sit on the counter like this for about 10-15 minutes, not very long, and then we'll get to our shaping. So I just roll it into a ball and kept it that way. So all right. Oops. Okay. Take that out of the, edit that out. Okay. It's bench rested. So now, is that a piece of fur? No, that's, okay. Flatten it out just a bit. And go to fold in the sides. The dough will stick to itself, so this shouldn't be a big problem. And then I'm just gonna roll it towards me. With a little bit of pressure. Okay. Kind of looks like a croissant, so I don't want to not hide, but roll these pieces under and flip it in. So there we go. Actually, it looks pretty good. I've been thinking about how to do it better, and I think that's a little bit better. It's not great, but just to not rip it, because those rips translate to like it's spreading bad. Instead of, I want it to bubble up. If there's already a hole, it's just gonna go that way and spread out. I don't want that. So let me grab shower cap. I'm almost out. I forgot how many I bought. I think there was like oh, it's 50. Wow, okay. I have about 6 or 7 left in there in my bag. I need to probably order more. So this is a regular old-fashioned shower cap. I have no use for one except for baking bread. So spray some oil on the inside. Oh, I always forget to do this. This is one of the most important parts. Take a picture of the before, and then I have to take a video because I need it for TikTok. And now I can cover it up. So I'm going to put this in the oven my oven has a proofing temperature, or a proofing setting, which is 100 degrees. So it's 2:39 in the afternoon. I'm thinking 4:30 maybe. So like just around 2 hours. So okay. Put it in, and now we wait. I think the shaping went okay. I think it went a little bit better. Like I said, I don't want it to rip. So hopefully it'll fill in all those gaps as it proofs and grows, and we'll see how it looks in a couple hours. Okay, take a look. Looks really good. It's fluffy. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the fridge, and we're good to go. All right, it's the next morning. Let's see what the bread looks like. I'm taking it out of the fridge here. Ooh, it still looks pretty puffy. That's nice. So, oven is ready to go. I have the pot in there. This fell onto it, not a problem. That's why I grease this up. I always put a little bit of spray so on there won't stick. It did leave a little bit of a mark, not a problem. So, let's take this. This is the part where I try to move quick. So, I'll put this down. Feels fluffy. That's good. Okay, bring it up. Put a nice deep slit. I'm gonna put 3 of them in here. I feel it feels okay. Let's like I said, I'm trying to rush because I don't like to keep it like this for too long. I try to get it in the heat of the oven as quickly as possible. So my pot, get that out, and then we'll move it over. All right. Oops, of course. That's up, over, and in. Technical issue here. All right. I'm gonna do, it's covered. All right. So it's in the oven. Let's set a timer. I mentioned earlier I'm gonna do 22 minutes. I want it a little more in the heat covered. I want that heat to really get in there. So it's slightly, when I do 20 minutes, that's for 500 grams. So this is another 166 grams. So I'm doing 22 minutes and we'll see how it goes. All right, it's time. Let's get this sucker out and see what we got. It rose. It rose. It looks like it rose good. Look at that. All right. It's lopsided though, but so am I. So, all right. Nice and toasty. Looks good. Put this in the sink here. It's uneven because it sat in the fridge and like this high. It was sitting on an uneven surface, so this side was a bit higher. But it rose a good amount. The slits, you can see it through the slits. Nice and hot. Nice and done. Put the oven off here. So yeah, it is 9 in the morning. So let this sit on the counter for like at least 4 hours. Let it completely cool down. And it seems pretty good. Later in the evening, let's cut this sucker open, see what we got. It's gonna go right down the middle. See how the crumb looks at the thickest part. All right, that's what I was hoping on. See how it looks open, more open, and not like wet or anything, and more like squishy. It opened up more, so more surface area. We're back to, I got to a point where I got them as big as my hand, and then I changed the format and I had to rebuild almost from scratch. So we're kind of here. I think the proofing went right. I noticed there was no big cuts around the bottom or anything. It only went against the places that I cut. Meaning these slits. Feels very solid in the hand. It's got a really nice surface area to it. So I'm gonna cut off a piece and make myself a snack.